This play is unlike anything I've seen before. Macbeth with David Tennant and Cush Jumbo is a very unusual and unique theatre experience due to this one thing that the production absolutely nailed in this show. And while its London run is ending very soon, you will be able to see this production in cinemas worldwide from February 2025. In this video, I'm going to tell you 5 things that you need to know about this production, and you let me know in the comments if you could be tempted to see it in the cinemas. This well-known Shakespeare's classic follows the General Macbeth, who was told by 3 witches that he will become the King of Scotland. Encouraged by Lady Macbeth, he pursues this in the most gory ways by killing the current king and just taking the throne. From there, both him and Lady Macbeth are tormented by what has happened and are even more paranoid, so they kill more people. And it's a very bloody, gory, and story that ultimately results in war and fightings and the death of Macbeth. So when I was going to see this play, I was prepared for the intensity that this story brings, but I wasn't ready to be taken to the next level when it comes to the sensory experiences. Before I tell you more about the most amazing aspect of this show, I first wanted to address the whole modern versus traditional adaptations of Shakespeare's work, because I feel a lot of theater goers have split and polarized opinions on modern versus traditional takes. And when it comes to this production, this is a modern production. It is very close to the today's theater goers, and it uses a lot of technology, light, and different types of design that weren't possible in Shakespeare's time. So it really elevates the production in that way. And similarly to Jamie Lloyd's production of Romeo and Juliet, this is a more minimalist take on Shakespeare. So I would just say don't go expecting the big set, crazy costumes and things like that, because it is a very much a stripped down version from that perspective. If you're a theater goer who prefers more traditional productions of Shakespeare, then I think that the Globe or the Royal Shakespeare Company are 2 places to check out where you would be able to immerse yourself in a little bit more traditional take on Shakespeare. So when this is now out of the way, let's dive deep and talk about the most amazing aspect of this show, and that is the sound. I know you weren't ready for it, but this is definitely the staple of this show. The sound design, sound engineering, and the fact that every single audience member gets a pair of headphones, and we all listen to the show through the headphones for the entire duration, which is 1 hour and 50 minutes. It is absolutely mind-blowing. I've never been in a show where something like this was done before, especially in a theater of this size. I've only experienced this in Punch Drunk production Viola's Room, narrated by Helena Bonham Carter, and you can check out the video here. But this is not a coincidence, because the same person who's done Viola's Room is the person behind the sound engineering and design for Macbeth, and that is Gareth Fry. When I tell you that this is a whole new level of experiencing theater, I'm not exaggerating, because there are just like so many different nuances that the actors were able to communicate with the audiences that would not be possible if these headphones were not in. And it is not only that the actors are communicating with the audiences in that way, there are also a lot of background noises and soundscapes, and just the ability to use the sound as your sense to really intensify the feelings and the words that you are hearing. Sometimes the words would be whispered in one ear and then they will continue onto the other, and it almost feels like something goes through your body in these instances. And when you're seeing the amazing actors on stage also delivering this performance, and there are plenty of other things that are also happening in your ears, because there are also different elements that are added, like maybe birds singing or witches talking, or there's like a murmur in the background, and it is absolutely mind-blowing how much that can impact the understanding of the show and just the intensity and the feeling of the show. So this was 10 out of 10. I really was so impressed by it that just for this alone, it is a show worth experiencing. I'm not really sure how they would be able to translate this into the cinema experience. I doubt that every cinema goer will have a pair of headphones for this. I think the beauty of it is definitely in the live theater, but obviously in cinema post-production they will be able to weave all these elements in, and it will be again like great sound, but just it wouldn't be maybe as intimate as it was in the theater when you had the headphones. But I think that the cinema quality will definitely deliver, because sound is such an important part of this production, so I hope they don't let it down. So let's talk about David Tennant in the role of Macbeth. This is a super intense part to play because of how much turmoil this character is in, starting from the very beginning when he is consumed by this desire to become the king, all the way to delivering the killing, and after that turning to these visions and paranoias and killing more people. It's such a hard character development to watch, and this is just a reflection of how good David Tennant has coped in this role to really bring that intensity to the level that I haven't experienced before. And this is because he was able to deliver as a voice actor as much as the stage actor. There are tiny whispers and things that he says just to the audience, and then he turns around and he's talking to the rest of the people who are surrounding him. There is just such a nuance in his performance, and there are so many different layers of delivering that performance that it was just incredible to watch him, especially during the set and the costumes being very minimal in this production. It very much relies on him being on stage for majority of the time and delivering the lines and communicating with the rest and really helping audiences see what he has imagined in this particular scene and who is he talking to and what are the relations and how he's feeling in all these different moments. Because I think Macbeth is very savage role that a lot of the times you really disassociate from him and you don't want to sympathize in any way. But I think he was able to really skillfully balance that savageness of Macbeth with something that is a more nuanced, tormented soul that you are witnessing on stage. I was really impressed by his performance, and I cannot wait to see in the cinema how much they do this from the filming perspective to really capture the live performance that he was able to deliver for all of us. Very similar praises are going to Cush Jumbo, who is playing Lady Macbeth. Her role is very evil to begin with, and then just a complete opposite towards the end, where she completely loses her mind and is very troubled by everything that has happened and the killings that they committed. She is initially very close to Macbeth in the way that is sometimes sensual, sometimes very provocative, and kind of leading him towards this decision. And I think she's very good at portraying this and helping Macbeth really do it and kill someone, and she is really encouraging him in this. And when you see them during those first scenes, they really come across as this like power couple that they are trying to portray, and it all goes south with the paranoia of what they committed haunts them. And she was really able to showcase this transition to the audiences in the best possible way and deliver on that very leading but ultimately very unhappy character that she portrays. One more thing that I wanted to talk about is the set design and costumes. I've hinted a few times throughout the video that this is a minimalist production, and this is very much reflected in both of these elements, but it's not kind of where it ends. I don't think that it is full scale minimal and that nothing is really happening. From the perspective of costumes, there are some costume changes, but they're all uniform in terms of like black and gray, and only Lady Macbeth is wearing white. And also when it comes to set, there isn't a lot of elaborate changes, but there are changes towards the end and things are shifting. But predominantly you're seeing this white podium, and when you enter the theater you're greeted with this bowl where Macbeth comes and kind of washes himself and he cleans his hands and his face from blood, and it is a very gory first scene that this play starts with. But then at the back of the stage are these two transparent cubes. In one section you sometimes have musicians, and then in the other sections there are some scenes that are happening. For example, Lady Macbeth is almost captivated in that other section, or there's another killing that happens there. So there are like a few different things that are happening in terms of the set, but they're just like not big set changes. But I think it's always interesting to see how sometimes less is more, how this helps focus not only the attention and energy of the audience to this particular part of the stage, but also of the actors. And I think because everything is so kind of squished, it just elevates that intensity even more. The set design is also elevated by some really impressive light installations, especially when there are like some fight scenes, and they look amazing. So again, it will be really interesting to see how they translate into cinema. And the last thing that I wanted to mention is the music in this show, which is absolutely amazing. There are a few musicians who are in this other corner that I mentioned on stage, and they are sometimes there, sometimes they disappear. But regardless, music is very present in the show because, as mentioned, audio is such an important part of it. And sometimes you can hear them singing, sometimes it's more just music. But either way, it really is like a soundtrack to this show. And this is where really this production excels, because it almost feels like it's made for the cinema, which is great because they are putting it out in the cinema as well, but like I think when they were doing this, they thought about all these different elements of music and sound, like they're part of the story. Everything is done with such precision, and I think that the music and the voices that are included and the type of music that is also included, which is more traditional, it's another thing that really adds identity to this show and makes it a very unique production worth seeing. This show first opened at Donmar Warehouse and then moved to Harold Pinter Theatre, but as I mentioned, it's coming to cinema near you, so I hope you managed to check it out. If you're interested in more of these modern takes on Shakespeare's classic, then check out this video where I'm talking about the production of Romeo and Juliet with Tom Holland.